are you?
Very nice to be here.
Thank you very much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
So Lady Barbara, to anyone that doesn't know you, or on your epitaph, if there was one sentence, what would that be?
Well, I have two. The first one is, I would like to die at my desk because I want to work as long as I possibly can. And maybe the second one, which should be the first one, is that I'm eternally grateful to my mother because my mother gave me good values.
Your dear mother's outlook for women in society is that she was very, very progressive. She believed a working woman with her own money was an independent woman. Has that been the inspiration that's made you successful?
My mother is totally the inspiration, and if I have any small success, it's only about my mother. She did believe that women should work. They had a brain, and they should use it, and they should make their own money, because money was independence. Because I came home and said I wanted to be an actress, and my mother said, we are not having any starving actresses in this family. If you want to act, go act in front of the jury and be a lawyer. And that's how I became a lawyer. And she was very clear that I should have a serious job. And what I've been doing for my whole life, business life, is mentoring other women. That's one of the things that and I'm very proud of the women that I look after because they've done really good, really well.
Would you mentor a man as well? Would you mentor someone like myself?
Oh, sure. My son, I'm very close to my son. And I spent my life with him. And when he got married, he said, my mother's my mentor. I look up to her, I ask her advice. I want to be like her.
You've only got one child?
Only one child.
Do you have any regrets about not having?
Yes, I really wish I had more. But
Okay. How many would you have liked to have
I
had?
think I would have liked to have three, actually, 3 children. But it didn't happen.
Girls,
and in those
boys,
days you
or
couldn't. Well, I'm very sad that I don't have a girl. I love my son, he's fantastic. And I'm so attached to my mother, and my mother had a strong mother. It would have been nice to have a daughter as well. But you know, the world, you can't have everything you want. Nobody does. But for me, that was a big regret, that I didn't have a daughter.
Do you think the 70s and 80s required a woman to be a tough lawyer to go on and achieve what you've managed to achieve in a man's world?
I do think it was like that, because I think that men weren't used to seeing women in the boardroom. And so they were a little nervous about it, and they were worried that the woman wouldn't be as strong as the man. So in my opinion, I had to be a bit stronger so my client would feel well protected. And it worked.
I have young daughters of my own, and when they grow up and they choose a career, will they be accessing a world of opportunities, or will it be a lesser version of a man's world?
I hope that your daughters will have every opportunity that a man would have. I've fought my whole life for that. But I think women need to be prepared. They need to, early on, their parents, like you, need to start teaching them that what they want to do is take STEM subjects, you know, particularly engineering and maths. Women who study maths, girls who study maths, earn 1/3 more in their lifetime than girls that don't. It's not the same for men. Second of all, when they say what they want to be when they grow up, then we want to teach them to say, I want to be the boss. I want to be the CEO. I want to be the chairman. We want to get them to start out in life thinking it's possible, and that's the goal. I think if your daughters do that, they'll do fine. And anyway, what a great role model their father is.
Thank you. I just want to hear it in your own words in terms of what you thought were the kind of highlights in your career and up till today.
Without a doubt, the most important job I ever had, the one that was life-changing, was to be a commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission at the end of the Carter administration. The president wanted to put a woman on the SEC, but they wanted a qualified one.
Yeah.
So they wanted one that had been a partner in a law firm, big law firm, that did securities law. And in all of America, there were only 6. And he found them all. And I was lucky enough to have been appointed. Then the next really important job, I thought, was in 1983 when I moved to Hong Kong and I became the first woman director of a London merchant bank, which was called Samuel Montague. For me, one of the best jobs I ever had was in 2004 when I became the first woman chairman of the UK Atomic Energy Authority, because I learned a whole new field. I learned about energy, I learned about nuclear, I learned about the world and how we have to power the world. I got very involved in nuclear energy, and I didn't know anything about it. I learned it from a standing start. I'm still advising the Japanese on nuclear energy. I still advise Abu Dhabi on nuclear energy. I advise Jordan. I advise the UK. So I'm very involved in that kind of baseload power generation. Nuclear is a passion now.
So how do you bounce from something like the Securities and Exchange Commission to nuclear?
That's an interesting question. Actually, I'm a lawyer. Remember, that's how you start out. And lawyers are trained to learn things. They're trained to learn them quickly, preparing for a brief. I read as much as I could about it in any journal, even read my son's physics books, just so I could get as much knowledge around the subject.
Oh, wow.
I read about nuclear energy, I read scientific journals, I read things from MIT. I just read as much as I could about nuclear energy. And I read it in different languages. So if you start with your son's school books, then you read it in more simple language. If you then go read an extract from an MIT journal from the nuclear department, it's a bit more complicated. And half of the issue is learning the language. Once you learn the terms, it's much easier.
You're known to have interests in more pies than you have fingers. So what's the secret to not spreading yourself too thinly?
Oh, getting up early. Getting up early in the morning is the only way to stretch the day. And not wasting time. I'm not a schmoozer. I don't like to do that. I kind of work all the time.
And what would you say to those individuals that almost, in a way, live their life for retirement?
I think that retirement is a dirty word. I think that work makes you feel good. It's cathartic. It makes you feel like you have a purpose. It keeps you young. I watched my mother. She worked until she was 88. And the minute she stopped working, she got dementia. And now she's in a wheelchair because she forgot how to walk. And why did she forget how to walk? Because when she didn't have to go to school, she was a dean in a college, she didn't have to get up. So she stopped getting up. So then she stopped walking. So for me, I think that retirement is an illusion.
10 years ago, you said, I'm going to keep working, finding new things. Having achieved what some would struggle to accomplish in multiple lifetimes, what are the new things that you found?
One of them is today. One of the new things is to come and help Penny Appeal. I want to do things that I didn't do before. I want to do startups.
But why startups in particular? Because you've been involved in some big corporations, big business, government, and it feels like you're going almost back to the bottom of the food chain.
No, when you work for a big company, you get paid a salary. But if you work for a startup, you have equity. And at this point in my life, I've done big companies. I want to have equity. I'd like to do something to help people, to kind of make sure that women particularly have a chance to fulfill their potential. And I also want to help older people, because I think this country is very ageist, and that when you get to be 60, you're dying, and 65, you're dead. And I think that with everybody living till 90 and 95, there's many more years of productivity that we should be capturing in this country. And also spend time in a really important charity, which will make me feel like I'm doing what my mother always said, which is when you die, the world has to be a better place because you were in it. So basically, I work hard for Alzheimer's and dementia because my mother has it. Then we have Penny Appeal, my newest thing, which I'm thrilled that you asked me to help and be an ambassador, because there's so many parts of the world that need help, that need water, that need vegetation, that need sanitation, that need care, health care, learning. And if I can be a small, tiny part of your tremendous effort, it's a big privilege.
So Lady Barbara, what separates a good entrepreneur from a great entrepreneur, and what are the key ingredients?
That is a question that you should answer, because you are a great entrepreneur, and I'm only just learning how to do it. But I'm not an entrepreneur yet. I'm trying. I'm always working for somebody else. That's why I'm trying to do startups, whereas you have built an empire based on your own business sense, your own idea, your own utilization of your resources. I'm greatly in awe of you, actually.
I think it's hugely important, especially if you've got a sizable team, that you have to invest in the right people, because having a lead in a team is good, but having a leaderful organization, an organization that at every level can be making the right decisions with or without you, and even when you're there, they can be making the right decisions at your side. So it's really about the people, and it goes back to my mantra about teamwork, making the dream work. I guess if there's a secret, that's my secret.
Well, I think you've done it brilliantly. As I say, I'm a big fan.